Your husband is mine. I know him better than you, and you can't do anything about it. God, what did I do to deserve this? Why am I the side chick in my own marriage?
To everyone watching, Amaka's wedding looked flawless, like she was living her happiest dream, beside the love of her life. Then again, wait, because that wasn't Amaka, the bride everyone came to celebrate. There, she stood, alone in a corner, hands clasped in front of her. Her smile was forced, her heart heavy, as she watched one painful moment after another. Her husband, Francis, holding another woman close on the dance floor. The woman walked in wearing white too, but she wasn't the bride. It was Angie Francis' so-called female best friend. Dealt like a couple, leaning in close like they were trading private jokes. Francis wrapped his arm around Angie's waist so easily, like it was something he did all the time. Like it was normal. Amara just stood there, watching her own husband enjoy himself with another woman on her wedding day. And if you're wondering how a bride can feel like a stranger at her own wedding, grab your popcorn. Let me rewind to where it all began. Amara has always been a very meek, soft-spoken woman. Her friends used to say, if quietness was money, Amara would be very rich. She was gentle, kind, and avoided drama at all costs. On several occasions where she went to a restaurant and was served the wrong food, she would just stare at the food and say, "Oh, well, I haven't tried this in a while," and move on. At work, people would take her kindness for weakness and dump extra work on her, or accused her for something she didn't do. She would just take it as she didn't want any problem. That's how she'd been trained to move through life. It was the way she was brought up. Her mother drilled into her that a good woman stays patient, stays calm, and keeps quiet, especially once she's married. She grew up hearing that the day a woman marries, her pride should be buried. To her mother, marriage wasn't just important, it was the highest achievement a woman could have. And so when Francis asked to marry Amaka, her mother was so happy. She could have swam a marathon. No matter what happens, she warned, hold on to your husband, endure, pray, be patient. And she carried those words into her marriage like they were sacred rules. Francis, in his early 30s, was a very successful businessman. He had already built a successful career as a senior manager in an oil company. He was confident, charming, and used to being admired, especially from women. It all came naturally to him, and he enjoyed it. Francis liked the thrill of being loved in two different ways. There was Amara, calm, patient, and kind, and then there was Angie, full of fire and excitement. Though Francis often told Amaka she was the only one who truly had his heart, his behavior said otherwise. Angie seemed to always be close by. Whenever Amaka and Francis went out, Angie would somehow appear at the same spot, as if by accident. If Francis stayed home on a lazy Sunday, Angie would suddenly call, claiming she was lonely and needed company. Whenever he traveled, Angie was never far behind. Amara saw everything but chose to stay silent. People around them would whisper jokes that Angie was the actual wife. While Amara was only the backstage actor, some even went further to say that Francis picked Angie because she was easy to control. Then Valentine's Day proved Amara's worst thoughts right. Francis had bought Angie expensive gifts, diamonds, flowers, with a love note and a brand new Lexus. And the note said, "To the only woman that makes me happy," while he gave Amaka, his real wife, apples. She tried speaking up, but Francis would just laugh it off and say, "Those things don't really fit your style. Besides, apples are the fruit of affection now." She nodded, swallowing her hurt. Silence became her defense. Meanwhile, Angie only made things worse. tossing around careless jokes that pierced deeper than she knew. Marriage has truly tamed you, Francis, Angie would tease with a laugh. If I lived here, this house would never be this quiet. He never stopped her. Each time Amara glanced at him, hoping he'd speak up, he stayed still, no line drawn, no boundary set. Don't mind her, he'd say lightly. She's just playing. But Amara stopped playing along. Slowly, she began, cherished in words but forgotten in action. I felt like a stranger in her own home, watching another woman fill her space. But she overlooked. She had endured for so long. What she didn't realize was that silence has limits. It doesn't last forever. One day, it cracks. And when it does, it shatters everything soon. Her mind soon became drawn from it. As it was the anniversary, Francis barely being around in the days before it. He always seemed to be busy, always in a hurry, always somewhere never with her. As always, Tamara noticed, she always did, but like every other time, she stayed quiet. That morning, a message came in. Just a few words. Happy anniversary. Nothing more. She stared at her phone for what felt like forever. It stung, but she told herself it was fine. It always is so. She decided something special to show she still cared. Even if it was just her, maybe there was still something left to save. Maybe a little effort could mend what silence had broken. So she prepared his favorite meals, hoping love could still find its way back home. Everything was perfect. She still had hope. She could fix things between them. But the hope she'd been holding until vanished the moment the door opened. Francis walked in, and Angie came in with him. Had her arm linked through his like it was normal, like it was meant to be there, like this was home. Amara went stiff. The smile she'd forced onto her face dropped instantly. Francis caught the look on her face and quickly started talking. He said they bumped into Angie on the way. He said she was coming out of the shopping center. So I offered to take her home. It's just for dinner, he promised. Angie only gave a soft, innocent smile. Amara felt a firm no push up her throat. Her chest tightened. Host habit kicked in. Years of swallowing her feelings took over. And she forced the word back down and she nodded. That's okay, she whispered. Francis walked by the table, paused, and his brows pulled together. Wait, are you doing something? Her chest tightened. Yes, she admitted. Amar said gently, it's our anniversary. How sweet of you, Angie said with a smile. I really hope you made enough food for 3 before anyone could respond. She dropped into the seat beside him, like she belonged there. Francis only chuckled, and then headed off. To take a shower, do you want me to join you? Angie called after him jokingly. The whole room went quiet. Francis laughed awkwardly and waved it off. It's just a joke, Amara. Don't take it seriously. You know how Angie is. Amara sat through the entire meal, silent like a shadow. Francis and Angie kept laughing, trading inside jokes and reminiscing about moments Amara had never been part of. Each burst of laughter stung her like a fresh cut. Annie tasted the food and gave a small smile. It's fine, she said calmly. But next time, ask me for the recipe. You know Francis prefers mine, right? She added as Francis paused for a second, then shrugged. Yeah, hers is better. Something in Amara finally broke my. If you didn't want to eat here, you shouldn't have come, she said. Her voice trembling. Francis coughed. Wow. Gentle Amara is finally talking. Then he slammed his palm on the table. Why are you behaving like a jealous child? You're the one who brought another woman into our home on our anniversary. How do you expect me to feel? Francis went on and on, calling Amara dramatic. He even accused her of trying to destroy their friendship. Angie just sat there, watching everything with a quiet smile. Francis suddenly stood up. I need some time to think about this marriage, he said as he grabbed the small bag. Amara followed after him, tears streaming down her face. She kept apologizing, begging him not to leave. When he returned to the living room, he said the words that shattered her completely. A calm let's go. And just like that, they walked out together. Amara spent 5 days by herself. She called Francis over and over again, but he never picked up. Her anger slowly turned into fear. She could barely eat, and her body grew weaker by the day. Then she fainted at the hospital. The doctor finally revealed the truth. She was pregnant, 2 weeks pregnant. The baby was fine. Amara held her stomach and cried softly. She needed Francis now more than ever. But he didn't know. He couldn't know. While she was in pain, Francis was in a hotel with Angie eating, drinking, laughing, acting like nothing mattered. When Amara's calls started coming in, Angie grabbed his phone and blocked her number, and Francis permitted it. Desperate, Amara eventually managed to reach Angie. Angie had suggested that they meet at a quiet lake reserve. She claimed Francis would show up later. Something didn't sit right with Amara, but she had no other option, and the lake. Angie finally confessed everything. She admitted she had been lying. Francis wasn't coming all along, and she was trying to ruin their marriage because she had loved Francis from day one, so she didn't want Amara around anymore.
They argued and struggled to stay afloat.
Icy water dragged Amara under. She cried out for Francis. When he finally reached them, he swam straight past her and pulled Angie out first. By the time he turned back, Amara was already going down. The world seemed to fade, then everything went dark. When she woke up, harsh hospital lights burned her eyes. For a few seconds, her mind was blank. Nothing made sense. Then the pain hit, not only in her body, but in her chest too. Tight, heavy, crushing. A nurse noticed she was awake and hurried to call the doctor. "You're safe now," the doctor said softly. "What is that supposed to mean?" Amara echoed bitterly. As Francis and Annie sat outside the ward, they sat close together. Angie's fingers clung tightly to Francis' hand. His clothes were still wet, and his face looked blank, like someone who had just crawled out of a terrible dream. When the doctor finally stepped out, Francis jumped up immediately. "Doctor, how is she?" "She's awake," doctor said. "But she lost the baby." The word struck like a heavy blow. "The baby?" he whispered, his voice shaking.
So she was truly pregnant.
The doctor only glanced at him for a second before turning away. Francis's knees almost gave out. He let go of Annie's hand and slowly walked toward Amara's room. For the first time in years, Angie didn't follow behind him. Inside, Amara lay motionless on the bed. Staring up at the ceiling, she felt empty. Losing the baby hurt deeply, but something else cut even deeper. She had always known it, but now it was undeniable. She had never mattered to him. Francis entered quietly. Somehow, he looked smaller than before. His voice came out low. "Amara, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were pregnant. I thought you were just trying to get my attention." Amara didn't even turn her head to look at him. He sank down beside her bed. "Please, say something. Scream at me, curse me. Tell me how much you hate me." At last, she spoke. "They're getting divorced." Her voice was steady. No tears, no rage, just cold certainty. Virek his head quickly. "No, please. We can fix this." Amara's eyes stayed on the ceiling. "This marriage has been killing me from the start," she said quietly. "I've been the other woman in my own home. You chose her every single time, even in the water." Francis broke down in tears. "I didn't even know about the baby. You didn't know because you blocked me. Because you allowed another woman to come between us." He took a long breath. "I stayed quiet for too long. I made it easy for you to disrespect me." Francis pleaded, but her part Amara didn't change her mind. The divorce happened calmly and without drama. After leaving the hospital, Amaka checked into a hotel. She needed distance. She needed quiet. She wept for the child she lost. She mourned the woman she used to be. And then she made a vow to herself, never again. Later, she spoke to her mother. For the first time, she told her everything. Her mother cried, apologized, wrapped her in a tight hug, and whispered, "You are enough." Slowly, Amara began to change. At work, she started saying no. She began to speak up. People were shocked. Some became bitter. Some admired her. Amara didn't care. She just kept growing. And quietly, Francis' life started falling. Angie had vanished. The home felt hollow. Rita chased him everywhere, until he finally realized what he had thrown away. Years later, Amara stood proud at a charity event for women who had experienced loss. Shield strong, complete, lowings the room. Francis spotted her. She saw him too, and felt absolutely nothing. She simply turned her back and moved on. Her silence was over. Her new life had started. Moral lesson: being quiet to keep peace is not strength. Real strength is speaking up, setting boundaries, and choosing yourself, even if it hurts.